welcome back to Two Tall Guys Talking Sales. We're your hosts. I'm Kevin.
And I'm Sean.
And we are glad you're here. Thanks for joining us. In this podcast, we talk about real sales issues, big and small, for salespeople, selling situations, and sales leadership. Collectively, we have over 50 years of sales, selling leadership, and sales acumen under our belts, and we're here to share a little bit of that with you in the next 15 minutes. We're glad you're here. Enjoy the show.
Sean, I was thinking about the last time I did a speech to a large group. I was preparing for the speech and thinking about some stories that would land with a really large group of people. And then I was thinking, well, if I've got some one-to-one follow-ups after this, it would be a very similar message, but it'd be very directed towards one person. This runs hand in hand with a marketing qualified lead versus a sales qualified lead. And we just talked about in our last episode about making your pipeline better, fixing your pipeline, untangling some messes. This may be the logical next step that a business owner or a salesperson may need to step through, because if you have a marketing qualified lead, an MQL, you're talking to them different than you would a sales qualified lead. It's the same person, but the messaging is different. We want to get the marketing message to a larger group that attracts the right kinds of individual conversations. So with those larger messages, marketing qualified leads are coming towards us. But once they hand them over to a salesperson as a sales qualified lead, that means we've done some additional discussion or talking, engaging with that person. So we've gone from a group to a person. So let's kind of dig in and uncover some of the other differences between a marketing qualified lead and a sales qualified lead.
Great story. Thank you for doing that, Kevin. As you were speaking there, I was thinking of examples of when we've screwed up. When marketing qualified leads suddenly get into your SQL, your sales qualified pipeline, and vice versa, when we just haven't accepted them well enough. And I think that an important part of that whole conversation is the ability to say, this person is not ready, we're not engaging. We thought they were sales qualified, they checked all the boxes, but they're just not moving past the early stages of our pipeline. And maybe what we should do is say, we're not going to bug them anymore from a salesperson's standpoint. We're going to give them back to marketing and let marketing keep on sending them collateral, putting out podcasts, whatever the case may be that you're getting your word out, and allowing that person to nurture in there. But you still know who that person is. You still know what that person's all about. And you are trying to give them more time to learn about you, learn about the company. I see so many people have very poorly qualified leads in their sales qualified funnel. It's just taking up the time of the salespeople, and we need to think about moving them back.
100%. The challenge we often see, what's the result of this? Okay, Kevin, okay, Sean, we've sent you a bunch of leads and you haven't moved them forward at all. Some of the things we've heard in our past is, oh, I'm getting junk leads, or, oh, the salespeople aren't doing anything with the leads I'm sending over, whether you're in marketing or sales. But what we as sales leaders have to do is help not only the sales team do a good job of stewarding and shepherding those leads through when appropriate, but we as sales leaders also have to really reach across the aisle. And I know there's some historical bad blood often between sales and marketing, but this is the time for change, because in this digital age, we're kind of one and the same. Sales messaging, awareness, attraction, enrichment, qualification, customers, prospects, and leads are all doing 70 to 80% of their research before they ever engage a conversation with us. So for all you sales leaders, if you haven't gone over to your marketing peer and said thank you, go do that now. Hit pause on this podcast, go say, hey, I appreciate all the work you're doing. And then maybe share something that you have seen in the market that could benefit them. That will go a much further way than just telling somebody they're sending you garbage leads.
Totally agree. Getting along with others, let's face it, we as salespeople, we are responsible for sales. We are responsible for interactions. We are responsible for being the face of the company. And sometimes that face of the company is facing inwards. Selling internally is almost, if not more, important than selling externally, and making sure that everybody on your team is moving in the same direction, working with you to solve the problems, and everybody is aligned with the sales message and the marketing message. It just makes sense that sales should take that leadership position. Please do that. Let's go back to that marketing qualified lead and that sales qualified lead. To me, the issue that needs to happen very early in a sales qualified lead. Marketing has brought in this lead, and it's now sales' job to figure out, can I sell to it? The thing that you need to find out very quickly is, do they have a problem? Do you think, as a salesperson, they have a problem that you can solve? And not that you want to solve every problem in the world, but something specific, something you've done before. We've solved that type of problem before. This is exactly like company A, company B, and company Z. We've solved these problems before, and now we know that there's a problem in that company that we can solve. Obviously, I'm talking about B2B sales here. We need to be very specific about what that looks like, and we have identified it. The customer doesn't believe us yet. We haven't earned the right to have their trust, but we have to believe that we can solve a problem. That is the very first step of going from MQL to SQL. Now the job is convincing the customer that we can solve the problem and identifying internally to that company that they really do have it, that they believe that they have a problem that they would like to solve. This kind of goes into this whole concept of, is it just frustration for that individual person? Or is it something that the company, the organization wants to solve? And why do they want to solve it? What are the reasons that they want to solve it? Where do they want to be? And in that MedPick world that we talk about occasionally on these podcasts, what is that metric? What do they want to have better? What are they going to get better? And how much better do they need to be in order to be successful? That's when you start knowing that, yes, this is a sales qualified lead, and we don't have to do any more work at the marketing side, because now sales, you got it. You got to run with it. You need the marketing collateral still, but you can run with it from the sales perspective.
You got me thinking, Sean, when you were talking about knowing the metrics. It's important for all salespeople to know how the lead got to be a marketing qualified lead. How did that rise up to the MQL? There's an interesting book for those of you who are CRM nerds like me. Go read the Sales Acceleration Formula by Mark Roberge. He's one of the early HubSpot folks. I think he was employee number 3. But in his book, Sales Acceleration Formula, he talks about, just because a lead or a person has downloaded 3 case studies and whatnot, that doesn't necessarily qualify them. Some of the best work we can do as sales and marketing leaders in this case is to understand what creates that qualification level. What creates the trigger to say, hey, this record, this lead record data point has done enough activity, interacted with our brand or our website or something, to flag them as a marketing qualified lead. He goes on to say things like, well, if a person comes from this company and they have this title, there are some natural, just immediately, hey, this is going to be a good lead. Immediately get it assigned. Your internal SLAs that will follow up within 4 hours, 8 hours, 12 hours, whatever your internal SLA is. But it's really important for us as salespeople to know how that lead got there, because if we as salespeople don't think the leads are quality, or we're having problems connecting after they're passed to us, we need to be a part of the solution. We need to be part of the solution. For those of you in the back row, we need to be part of the solution. When we're creating and working with our team members on qualifying and getting a marketing lead to a sales qualified lead and not disqualifying it, remember, we all have the same goal. We haven't said that out loud yet. Marketing and sales all have the same goal: sell more. It's how we stay employed. When we do a better job of communicating what good or success looks like, man, things can really take off like rocket fuel. So if you're working in a business that Sean and I have worked with in the past, we've talked about rocket fuel for your pipeline, getting people engaged with their leads, talking about metrics, talking about MedPick or BANT or one of the other qualification methods. These things are foundational for your growth as a business.
It is your job to sell more product. You are charged with employing the rest of the company. Marketing is here to help you, and they have every desire to help you. They don't want to be an island unto themselves where they're just bringing in marketing looks on the website. They really do want you to sell more because that's how they get paid. Everybody understands that sales brings in revenue, customers get a product in return, and that keeps everybody employed and going forward. Always think about the rest of the company works for you to solve the problem. But since the rest of the company works for you, you need to be a good manager and you need to make sure that they come along and they're happy in their roles and they are being well liked and they are being allowed to be sufficiently rewarded for everything that they do. Now, if you start complaining about my MQLs suck, what are you doing to solve that problem? And by sitting with your marketing team and having the conversation of, look, these leads that we just got, they aren't returning my phone calls. Well, that's a hard time saying that they're a qualified lead. These leads that we had, they don't have an identified goal of solving the problem. They don't have a desire to solve the problem. They don't even really have a problem. Then we have to work on, are we actually targeting the right people in marketing? And sales needs to provide that feedback to marketing of, we're not asking the right questions. We're not putting the right information out. Don't just yell at them and tell them that it's bad. Tell them, look, I'm not getting this information. These people that are coming in are not responding in a way that would imply that they would ever buy from us. So that's a good feedback loop. And I think it's an important thing to do in the whole MQL, SQL conversation, that they're a part of your team and give them good feedback to let them know what you need from a sales perspective.
Let's take this conversation one step further, maybe to a company that hasn't had either this conversation or this is a new conversation they're trying to start inside their organization. I imagine that some of our listeners out there may not have an internal marketing team, or they've just hired someone, they're trying to build some of these foundational communication infrastructures. If you're in that role, here's a statement that you can use. This is some free consulting. Have your salespeople review their leads and say, hey, it would be additionally helpful out there in listener land. If you're driving, don't write this down. But if you're not driving, write this down. Tell your salespeople to use these words. It would be more helpful with all new MQLs if I also knew this. If you will just empower them with those words and then let them talk. Because if you need better phone numbers, if you need more insight about their problem, if you need more insight about their revenue, if there's some other thing they need as a sales team to be more successful, now it's a sales leader's and a marketing leader's job to surface those needs and address them. This is how we create better organizations. We empower them with the right tools. Sean, what would you suggest for the small or medium-sized business that's just starting this journey?
If you're just starting and you don't have a well-defined marketing organization today, my first advice is hire it. There are great partners out there. There's great people out there to help you create a great marketing-led organization, and you should do that. So if you're brand new, if you're a young company, or if you're a company that just hasn't got that mature yet, there are experts out there. Just like there's Kevin and I that are experts in helping you solve your sales problems, there are experts out there to help you solve your marketing problems. In fact, there's a lot of them. So don't be afraid to ask for help, ask for expertise. There's people out there that can help you solve that problem. I suggest that the very first thing that you work on between an MQL and SQL conversation is, what is your value proposition? And did the value proposition get communicated to the market through the marketing messaging to the marketing unqualified leads to make them qualified? In other words, did everybody, as they were first coming to our site, as they were seeing the magazine article, as they were hearing the pitch, seeing whatever it was on LinkedIn, whatever way you're generating leads, did they hear a pitch that was very similar to and built on the same foundation as your value proposition? And that value proposition will lead through from marketing all the way into sales, because that's what you're going to deliver as a salesperson. You're going to start talking about that same thing. And are you congruent between your marketing side and your sales side with that same value proposition? And that'll help you get going.
If you're looking for a boilerplate statement, take this away. As in airplanes, you need balanced engines. On the right wing and on the left wing, you need engines balanced, both pushing at equal force to keep the plane from going in circles. That's just like marketing and sales. Make sure you've got a balanced engine driving your business forward. With that, we're at time. Sean, we cover a lot of ground really quick. I hope that our audience out there got something out of this. I'd be curious to know what their biggest takeaway was. With that, we'll see you next time.
Thank you very much for joining us on this podcast of Two Tall Guys Talking Sales. We hope that we were able to share some valuable insight, valuable knowledge with you to make your selling adventures easier and more successful. Please join us every week. We drop these on Tuesday afternoon at 4:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Please subscribe to us in your favorite podcast player. Also, please join us on LinkedIn, where we do a CEO workshop. And that CEO workshop is dedicated monthly to big questions that CEOs are having and how to grow their business and drive sales. You can find us on LinkedIn. Just search for Two Tall Guys Talking Sales. Thank you very much. Have a great day.